Right, we're on, I think. So,
Great, so we're here from Brent Scouts. We're going to talk about the Duke of Edinburgh and the Chief Scout expedition list, and this is really both to help the Scouts and also parents of Scouts to sort of figure out what to buy. Patrick, you're here.
yep.
You're here to help us to discuss this. And as a bit of an introduction, the Duke of Edinburgh provide quite a useful guide, and obviously within this list you can get the recommended models that they talk about, and if you do that, make sure that you use the Scout discount, and if you need extra information, there is a reading guide as well, and there's always the option of borrowing kit if you know someone in the same school,
An older sibling who's done it before.
Yeah, exactly. So borrowing is always a good option, but in order to sort of understand what each bit of kit is for, and understand not have to get the most expensive item, and bearing in mind you might grow out of some of these bits of kit, we wanted to run through. And I think it's also quite important to realise that some of the kit is you might use only briefly, but also other bits of kit like a rucksack is kind of an investment for life as well, so just weighing up different bits of the decision. I guess the last sort of intro bit that we wrote down in our notes is also the weight as well. As you go through this bit of kit, some of this will be altogether can be about 17 or more kilos, so if you load too much kit in for an overnight stay, or you're not sharing that kit around, then it can get quite heavy. So actually thinking about the needs of the kit is quite important. Not only the individual bits, but also the contributing the total amount as well.
Yeah,
so
it's an important consideration, because obviously this list, I don't think it includes some of the stuff like the camping stove, the gas canister, the tents that they're going to have to carry, that the groups are going to be providing them with. So between a patrol of 6, they will be carrying their own stuff, plus three two-person tents, plus stoves, 3 cooking stoves and 3 gas canisters that will have to be shared out. So the important thing is that the rucksacks aren't full before all that goes in.
Right, so top of the list, you are right, top of the list,
Feet.
Okay, 1 pair of walking shoes, a walking boots broken in, and 2 pairs of walking socks.
Yeah.
Right, and it's got some models, but what have you been your experiences of what would you say is important about fitting?
Yeah, the
boots?
important consideration, these kids, their feet are growing like crazy. I mean, at this age, they're going through shoes at such a crazy rate. You don't want to fork out on an expensive pair of shoes, because 3-4 months down the road, they'll have outgrown them. So what you're looking for is good threading, I think is what it's called. Because there is going to be hills, it's most likely going to be wet and slippery, so the threading is going to be essential for grips. Ankle support, again, because there's going to be lots of inclines, both the ups and downs. They murder your ankles. Waterproof, good leather, waterproof shoes, and proper waterproof.
Also, I was going to say, like, what's important as well, that you and the scout that's going to go on the expedition checks that those actually fit as well, fairly close to the expedition, that they are comfortable for the person walking in them, that they've got full laces that tie all the way up. We've seen people whose laces don't actually fit the shoes. You mentioned waterproofing, and the socks also. Try those boots with the socks as well, because again that changes the fitting. Someone's got to spend 2 days in those boots, and that's got to be comfortable.
Yes, and it's critical that they have been broken in. if they're not, you're opening yourself up to having blisters, and that would be make the expedition miserable for you.
We've got, I don't know if we've got, we tend to use things like brands like Merrill. I don't know if you've got.
I don't know what. I didn't pay much attention to the brand. But yeah, it's good. Leather.
Yeah. Get something that's comfortable is important. Right, layers. Right, we've got jackets, coats, fleeces, t-shirts, trousers, and shorts. That's sort of the next section that's on our list.
Yeah.
And layering is probably a good way to start, actually, because the way you stay warm is by having layers, and as you get warmer, you can take layers off.
Yep.
And if you could stop, or it's night, you can layer up. But I think layers are important. Yes. And if you get wet, you can take off a wet layer and put on a dry layer. So layers are important.
Yep.
But not carrying extra clothes that you don't need as well. So trying to find that balance. Do they need to spend a lot of money on layers?
No. But I think we probably need to talk around the material. So, for example, cotton. Cotton is not a good material for hikes. It's if they get wet, it takes a long time to dry. What are the good materials?
So a lot of these kind of things like walking t-shirts, even the fairly basic ones, they're often sort of nylon or so on.
So man-made.
So sort of synthetic fibres. I would recommend things like some of the Mountain Warehouse underlayers are pretty cheap. You can get them from other stores as well that go outdoors, but these are kind of long sleeve black layers underneath, yep. and trousers as well. So they're quite good, very light base layers. Companies that do like an all-in-one jacket that sort of zips into the coat, so you can either use it as one layer or two. But in terms of the overall expense, you can limit all of this to £50-60 if you buy reasonably. You don't have to get the most expensive, but you do think about the layers and the space that it's going to take up as well.
Yeah, one thing I would add is the trousers. They should be trousers and not shorts. Obviously nowadays there's lots of talk around ticks and Lyme disease and so on. So and during the course of these expeditions, the scouts will be going off, walking across fields, potentially long grass. So long trousers tucked into their socks is going to be the recommended thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. And my experience of going across the mountains as well is just having an extra trouser in a layer just as an option. It's pretty light, it's pretty small, but whether you just you get wet and you need to change the trousers, or you're cold at night and you want an extra layer, just having the same kind of thermals for your trousers as for your top, it's a worthwhile carry at pretty low volume and extra weight. Cool.
Yeah,
I think we've covered most of the items
of the clothing and stuff.
Clothing. I would say there's sometimes things in this list that are kind of you don't always need. Things like gaiters to cover ankles. Not everybody needs those. Extra over trousers. It's weight, but you'll get quite sweaty. It's sweaty in them as well. So there are one or two items you don't have to stick to the absolute.
The over trousers are on the list primarily if a fairly light shower suddenly breaks out, and the idea is you put them on over your boots. You don't have to take your boots off, and you can put it on really, really quickly and take them off really, really quickly. And for a short shower, it keeps your clothes dry.
Okay.
And I think we'd always recommend that scouts bring waterproofs with them. Likewise, a lightweight jacket that can be just put on very quickly and stuffed into the bungee.
Well, the jacket's a must, right? The jacket's an absolute must. Right, on the personal kit section, right, the list has got rucksacks, and this is my rucksack, and you can see different places where it's been around the world. And the reason why I brought mine along is to show that it's really an investment for life, right? That, you know, where other bits of kit you might grow out of, this is something that it's important to get that works for you. You're going to need it to be big enough to hold all the kit. That's probably about 65-70 litres worth. And there are some various various features that you're going to need to look out for if you're not going to go for one of the standard lists on the recommended, the Van Goghs, etc. I think first of all, when you're carrying a bag of this weight, you're going to need that bag the weight to be distributed on the hips. So having good structured hip support is a key part of the bags. Equally, having an adjustable back system that fits to the top of your shoulders to your hips is important. And I think on the train out we were talking about asking the shop.
The shop can adjust that for you. They should be able to get it to exactly the right height for the Scout.
So having that ability to fit to you, but also giving you the ability to grow into the bag as well. As you get bigger and become an adult, then that bag will adjust to you as well. I think pockets are also important. I tend to know where I keep my compass, etc. So having enough pockets in the area. Some people also like to have a rain cover inside the bag as well. And yes. that will keep the bag dry, even if you forget a bin liner. You've always got a layer to cover. So it's important, if you don't buy one of the recommended bags, that you still think about the fit, the weight distribution, the pockets, the adjustment, and the cover. I think those are key things. And also on the list is a rucksack liner. These bags aren't waterproof, even with a cover. So having a liner is,
at best, they're water resistant.
Is critical.
Yeah, and generally we would also recommend probably putting your clean clothes inside a bin liner or something inside the rucksack, just in case you do get caught in the heavy downpour, and the sleeping bag as well. So it's keeping the sleeping bag dry will mean you don't get cold at night.
Yep. Nice segue to our sleeping systems. Our sleeping systems are our sleeping bag and our roll mat. You can get different makes of roll mats, but I'd recommend getting some sort of inflatable one because it can fit inside the your rucksack, which will mean if it rains, it will stay dry. This is an inflatable one. Again, it's kind of kit for life, so it is worth the investment to get one with a good thermal rating. And your sleeping bag needs either to be a three season and get an inner liner to keep you warm for that extra season, or you can get a four season sleeping bag and keep it in some sort of dry bag. That way, again, if it rains, inside your rucksack, your sleeping bag will still be dry at night. Again, an investment for life. It is worth having, it will keep you warm. One thing to say about your dry bag, your sleeping mat and your sleeping bag is when you store them at home, don't store them compressed. They like bedding, they work best because they're a little bit fluffy. They store layers of air. If you store them compressed, then they degrade over time.
So don't keep them in the stuffed bag that they come in.
Correct.
Okay.
Food. Right, that's next on the list.
Yes.
Right.
So the food, during the training day, the scouts are going to work out their menu, and the leaders will sort of advise them on what is the sensible thing to bring. They can't survive on bags of crisps alone, for example. So they'll be doing an awful lot of walking, so they're going to be burning a lot of calories. So they'll need to plan a menu that's going to be quite hearty. Their groups are going to provide them with stoves, gas stoves, and a gas canister for cooking. They'll have the equipment they need for cooking.
Yep. And I'd say that it's also, when it comes time to cook that food, I think the menu needs to be one where they don't need to be cooking for a very long time.
No, absolutely. Yes.
So think pasta's something that people pick quite a lot. Some pasta cooks very, very quickly. Some pasta takes 20 minutes or so, which is a bit of a pain with if you're waiting. Everybody else has eaten, you're cold.
Yeah.
The recommended guide talks about things like the dehydrated food, and you can get the sort of packs like this where you pour in hot water. These are quite expensive. They're not the only option.
Yeah.
You do have things like couscous, pot noodles, things. On top of that, food, do give yourself treats, whether it's nuts, raisins, or a few sweets or whatever. You are
Dried mangoes.
Dried mangoes, there you go. Fantastic. The things to keep you cheerful along the way, keep your energy levels up until you have a sit down meal. But think about the getting enough calories, but also making sure that you can cook something quite quickly.
Yeah.
We'll talk about water as well. Water's another area that we
They never bring enough, do they?
they never bring enough, exactly. When you're on long walks, you are going to need to drink about 4 litres a day, right? That's quite a lot, right? Sometimes people are carrying only a litre water bottle. It's not enough, right? You really need at least a 2 litre water bottle. You probably need a second water bottle to top up as well, and you need to carry some of the chlorinated tablets that are mentioned at the end, because if you don't manage to be able to top up water from a clean drinking source along the way, then you'll want to be able to purify water and then top it up as well. So make sure essentially you're carrying 2 litres, you've got an extra 1 litre as your top up mechanism, your chlorine tablets, and then a little bit left field, but you might also want a water bottle that's enabled to take hot water as well. Some people can like to use that because they can almost use it as a hot water bottle at night. They can fill up that water bottle in with warm water, put it in their sleeping bag, and use that to warm up the bedding as well. So if you're somebody that gets cold, an extra consideration, but yeah, make sure you're able to carry
Multi-purpose.
exactly. And that's a lot of this kit that we're going to look at now in the next section. Before we get on to the final items, wash kit and towel. I've got a couple of examples here. Don't bring the kitchen sink. Don't bring the bath. All your toiletries.
Bare minimum.
Bare minimum that you need.
Brush your teeth. Make sure you wash your hands before eating and cooking. Things like that. It's just for 2 days, so it's bare minimum.
Yep, exactly right. You might put a few extra items in. You might put I think I've got my chlorination tablets in here. I've got an antiseptic wipe and some plasters. But it's gonna fit really small in my bag. It's not gonna, whole big deodorants, bars of soap, anything. I don't need that extra weight. I don't need that extra space. But if I'm carrying that, it's gonna all cumulatively weigh up. So, wash bag and towels, think appropriate size. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Tents we're gonna skip over generally. You're gonna borrow it from your group.
Yeah, so they're going to be hiking tents, so they'll have lightweight aluminium poles, so they're suitable for 2 people. But the idea would be possibly sharing. One person carries the poles, one person carries the actual tent. So the challenge will be is if it rains overnight and then you end up with a wet tent. to have to carry home.
They will need to. No, they will. We'll be able to help.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you're going to get a good tent, and
Yeah.
as long as someone leaves good space, I think it'll be fine.
Yep.
Right. Camping stoves. Right. So, of course, you can borrow a camping stove. I think in the UK. Tends to be the MSR Coleman screw fitting that works.
Yeah.
I've got my stove and my canister.
Yes, it's going to be something similar to that gets supplied to them.
A small. I've got quite a big canister as well. You don't need such a big one. You'll have the smaller canister, and you'll have a screw fitting.
Yeah.
And again, if you don't need to buy your own, you can borrow it. That's fine. When you're older, you're 18, you'll figure out what you need.
Yep.
You might decide you're going for international travels later and go for petrol stoves. Think fairly small. Ask your scout leader what
Yeah,
you
it's
should borrow. Or buy.
the source that we generally use would be that or a Trangia, which is a fairly standard one.
Great. Cool. Which brings us onto cooking equipment, and I wanted to show you cooking pans. Right, they should be small. If you're thinking of bringing cooking pans with all these extra, multiple pan sets, too heavy. Right, a pan set needs to be small. It needs to be able to fit in extra kit into the space, whether it's your matches, a bit of extra paper, maybe a scouring sponge that you've cut up, maybe a bit of string, your tent repair kit, a few tea bags. But really think of it small, light, appropriate, and yeah, it can add a lot of weight. It can add a lot of space. You can get some very expensive, overpriced models.
Yeah,
it's not going to help.
So again, it will be the groups, the scout groups will be supplying both the stove plus the billy cans, or if it's Trangia that they're getting, the Trangia comes with the pots and pans and even a teapot.
Yes. Right. I think there's a few more items on this list, but jump to the maps quickly as well. The maps we're talking about are the 1 to 25,000 sets, which is which from the Ordnance Survey. These are called the Explorer range, and these are going to give you the right one. Digital copies are available, but they obviously we want to teach life skills.
Yes.
Digital, your phone could run out, it could die.
Yes.
This is going to keep you safe.
Yeah. So the compass and the map will be supplied by the group, I believe.
Yep. Compass. Right. I want to talk about tools as well. This is my pocket tool. Oh, we've got some visitors, but we'll carry on.
Yeah.
So there are some legal requirements of what you can carry to a camping trek. I think if it's a non-locking knife, it's a 3-inch blade is the maximum. But there are some other features that are important on this as well. A tin opener, a screwdriver, tweezers, because you mentioned ticks earlier.
Latest emergency aid, tweezers are not you have to have, there's a special tick tool because the tweezer will potentially leave the head in.
Yep, absolutely. But that's your you want the basics on there. It doesn't have to have all these extra bells and whistles, and you need to be able to store that either in a secure pocket in your bag or on your person. It's obviously, if you're not using it for, you need to be able to demonstrate that you're using it for the right camping purposes. We talked about string. We talked about water purifying, but I think the last item that we should be talking about, and I know you brought yours along as well.
Yes, my trekking poles.
Trekking poles.
Yes, going up and down hills in particular, they're very helpful. Take some of the strain off the knees and the ankles
Right, and if you're carrying 17, 18 kilos
even
on your
more.
back, and you're not used to it, and every time you're walking up and down, though that weight is sort of going through you, then that's quite a lot of strain over 2 days. So having to be able to distribute that weight over some poles, I'd say don't be afraid to bring them along.
Well,
there.
just consider, and again, it's an investment that they will last forever. Well, treated well.
Yeah.
Treated
well, they will last for a long while. I think that's. Anything else, or is that?
Well, you missed. You didn't talk over the stuff at the top, which is on the list. Which is obviously after they cook, they need something to put the food into, and they probably need a mug as well.
There's a lot
something to drink.
Yeah,
so, yeah, there are other things.
There are other things on this list that we haven't highlighted. Like, I don't think you don't need us to talk about the requirements of a mug or what to buy or anything. I think you can read the other things.
Yeah.
Plastic bags, etc. I think those are pretty standard. But there are other. You are right. There are other things that parents need.
I think we've covered the important stuff. So yes,
cool. Well, thank you for putting this together, and we hope this video is useful to our scouts, and happy camping.